Hello and welcome to another episode of Rebel Rogue, where today we will be painting a legend and forging a saga. It's time to paint some space wolves. Rebel Rogue. The space wolves are a ferocious chapter of the Adeptus Astartes, skilled in close combat and deeply rooted in their traditional beliefs in honour and such like. Basically, each warrior believes, and champion and such like, is trying to forge their own saga. They just basically want to be sung about and remembered as great warriors and great heroes. So, today we are going to be painting a wolf lord, I think, or whatever they're, wolf captain, I don't know what they are. I don't really look at the units. And a second variation on that, as a second marine guy. Enjoy. We are going to begin our painting of this miniature and of the other miniature by base coating all the different areas. We will then be applying washes and then if you want to, you can then reset base coats and the likes. At the end of the video there will be a thing on extra steps you can do, and I may be doing a little bit on how I'm basing these miniatures. The first base coat we are going to apply to our Wolf Lord is Vallejo model colour French Mirage Blue. This is for a more pre-heresy scheme, but if you would like to go with a post-heresy scheme, then you can use Vallejo Game Colour Wolf Grey. This is the only real variation between the two models, so just pick whichever you like best. Starting with our French Mirage Blue, putting it onto our palette. It is sort of been thinned because I haven't prepared my wet palette properly, but just thickening it up by mixing it a bit and bringing it on to base coat all of the armour. If you are wondering what brushes I'm using, I am using Telgona Sable brushes. They are basically cheap brushes off Amazon. Amazon? Don't know. So just painting all of the armour panels on this model, including the trim. You don't really have to worry about the trim on this model because it's all the same colour. And now for the Wolf Grey. I haven't really tested this colour to see if it will work. If it doesn't, then there are other options which I might try out, but yeah. It is quite bright, so it may need toning down. Yeah, I might have to mix a black and a blue. Anyway, I'll put this on, see how it looks, and be back for the next colour. The next colour that we want to paint onto our Space Wolf is Charred Brown from Vallejo. This is the game colour variant, and this will be going on all the straps and belts on the model. There is the main obvious one of the belt running around their waist, and any other little straps that we find across the model, including those on the back of the Frost Blade. Frost Sword, Frost Blade? I don't know, I'd have to check. Space Wolf Lore, Space Wolf Codex. Just a quick note as well, before we begin base coating, I will admit that this really hasn't worked, so don't follow my advice, don't use Wolf Grey. Maybe follow the Games Workshop painting tutorials, painting guide. I'm sort of providing an alternative scheme which I like more, but any which way, this hasn't worked. This is going on the main belt, round the waist, and any other straps and trinkets I find across the model. The next step is to base coat the Frost Blade and the plasma pistol coils with Vallejo Game Colour Magic Blue. I will warn you before anyone buys Magic Blue, or if they're using it, you should probably already know, it smells. Maybe it's because I've got quite an old bottle of it. I've had this bottle since I started painting. It's about 5 years old. It still works. And yeah, it's quite smelly. So just base coating the frost blade. We will probably do something else to this. I don't quite know yet, but I think blue is a good place to go for now. If you have Vallejo Ice Blue, that will be a much better colour, but I don't happen to have it, so I'm just going to use this blue. It's quite a stark colour that you'd often see. I will say it's usually on second-hand models you find on eBay. Really, people just paint solid blue power swords. For some reason I usually paint my power swords metal coloured. Any which way. Painting the plasma coils as well. There we are. You don't need to really worry about overspill on this, because we can always tidy it up later, and the plasma coil overspill creates a sort of object source lighting effect. The next colour we want to apply is Vallejo Model Colour Flat Earth. We will want to apply this to the wolf pelt that wraps around our model. If any of your models are using conversion sprues or the likes that include wolf pelts and wolf pelt trinkets, such as this little tail thing, then you can paint it in this colour. If you don't worry, this is not going to be the final colour, but it's going to be a good base colour for a sort of standard fantasy wolf sort of scheme. Painting it all across the pelt and the tail trinket. Any other little wolf fur talisman things you can paint in this colour as well. We are now going to move on and paint the Aquillas and other similar details in Citadel's Retributor armour. Any mid-gold colour would do, something like Vallejo Game Colour Glorious Gold, or, as I know quite a few of you may well use the Citadel range, Retributor armour is a very good option. Sorry about my arm being in the way. So, the little Aquila details. Don't worry about being too messy, you can always touch it up later. I've been touching up bits I overspilled on the wolf pelt, but then the cap on the wolf pelt thing there, and any other gold details, including, not to forget, the Aquila in the middle. Like so. The next part that we are going to paint is all of the metal areas on the miniature. These include the little grills on the mouth, the plasma pistol, the exhaust vents at the back, and any other little metal details that your miniature may have. For this we are going to be using Vallejo Model Colour Natural Steel. It's a good solid metal steel colour and is a decent fit for what we want. Like so, and anywhere else where you want metal to be painted. The next colour we are going to paint onto our miniature is going to be Vallejo Game Colour Bone White. This is going to be painted on all the claws of the miniature and any little claw trinkets. The main claws are on the wolf pelt, but there are a few claw trinkets splattered about the model. Scattered, splattered, I don't know. Can't speak today, it seems. So, painting all the claws like so, and the claw trinkets like the one on the plasma pistol, and the ones on the back of the frost sword. Like so. I am also going to paint any of the little strange trinkets that also accompany it. I've just realised now that they are quite similar to the trinkets on the Master of Possessions model. Either the Master of Possession was once a Space Wolf, or Space Wolves have some strange connection to the Masters of Possessions. The Masters of Possession. Anyway, I'll continue this. Oh, don't forget, if you've got any purity seals, you can also paint them in this colour. I'll do this and be back. The two final colours that we will be painting onto our Space Wolf are Mephiston Red on the hilt of the Frostblade and the eye lenses, and where is it? German Tank Crew Vallejo Panzer Aces. This will be going into all of the joints on this model. Between those clips that you just saw of me doing the, can't remember what, probably the claws, I was reading up a little bit about Space Wolves. I don't know a lot about them, and I was deciding on what company, great company that is, what great company I wanted this to be from. I can't remember which I decided. I can't remember the name of it, but it's one with a strange red wolf head and flames and a black shoulder pad. So I'm also going to paint this shoulder pad here in black, in this grey as well, but I'll leave that for now. I'll be painting all of the joints and the lenses, etc. And then I'll be back for the next section. It'll be washes, won't it? Yeah, I think we finally reached the wash stage. Yeah. Now that the base coats have been applied, we can move on to the washes. For this model, we will be using a black wash and a dark brown wash. If you are using Citadel paints, I would recommend Nuln Oil and Agrax Earthshade. If you are using any other brand, Vallejo, they've got a good black ink you could thin, and they do sell black washes, and they do have a brown wash which is pretty good. You could add a bit of black to it just to get the shade we want. Take a relatively large brush and your wash. To begin with, I'm going to use my black, though you could use your brown. We are then going to apply it in the same way as I showed you in my video on applying washes. But we've got to make sure that it pools in the recesses, but doesn't pool too much on the actual flat panels. The black will be applied across the Frostblade, the armour, the gunmetal, the little plasma coils, and any other bits you wish to be shaded in black. I am going to apply it across the fur because I want a sort of dark brown look to my fur. I'm also going to apply it to the two armour panels I painted with dark grey, but I will likely do multiple coats of this because I want to build up a really strong black colour, but still keep that sort of layer of tonality. Or that ability to highlight or shade. The black wash will also be applied to the joints of your miniature. And now to apply the brown wash. This will be applied on the plasma gun tip and on any of the Aquillas on the model. I chose to use a black wash on the hilt of and the straps on the handle, but you could use a brown wash if you'd prefer. Again, using the same brush you used for the black wash, having rinsed it of course, but the same sort of size. And following the same steps as described in the video, which I shall link in the top right hand corner, hopefully. Just applying the wash to the Aquillas and any other areas that you wish to apply it to. With that wash now complete, this model is painted to a battle ready standard. In the rest of the video, or the following section, I will describe a few ways that you could enhance the look of your model. As this is a character, and if you too are painting a character, I would recommend following just a few of the steps that I describe. You don't have to use all of them, you can do if you want to. I don't mind what you use, I'm not there to tell you how you should paint your army to the precise. I'm just here to give you a few suggestions. The first thing that we can do to improve our Wolf Lord is to do a couple of freehand designs on the shoulder pad. Yes, I seem to have started with the most complicated one. So, on this particular shoulder pad, we're going to do the Space Wolf marking for battle line troops. Zoom out a little. We're going to be using Mephiston Red, and we're just going to paint some sort of, they're sort of like triangles. It sort of dissects the thing like so. That's sort of what we're looking at. And then fill that bit in with red and then tidy up the trim later on. I'll probably come back to this and do another coat just to build up a good strong red colour. And my paint is a little bit thick for doing this, but it does give me quite a lot of control. There we are. The next thing that you could do is to paint the company, the specific Great Company symbol on the left shoulder pad. In this case, I'm going with the Grimwolves. So again, I'm going to be using my Mephiston Red, and I'm also going to be using a bit of Vallejo's Deep Yellow. This is Vallejo model colour, by the way, not game. Just to paint the other part of the design. Using the same process as before, taking our quite a fine brush with a good tip, and it's a strange symbol. This on a shot. Try not to get paint in the wrong place. There we are. And then the deep yellow, sort of like a flame coming out the back. I don't know the lore, so I wouldn't be able to tell you anything about that. But yeah, I was reading up on the companies, or at least the heraldric designs. Please don't be offended if you are a Grimwolves player at me butchering your logo. I will probably come back in with a brush again and tidy it up. It just takes a really fine point to my brush, and a good brush. Probably used a brush that was too large, so I have completely butchered it, but I'll see what I can do to it. The simplest step you could do to improve your paint job, if you were doing, say, characters or just your squad sergeants, is you could reset the base coats on each and every armour panel. This will be detailed in the layering video, which I will link in the top right hand corner of the screen. Hopefully I'll get one of my subscribers to check whether it's in there or not, and to remind me to do so. Resetting the base coats is pretty simple, and I won't go through it here as I've already gone through it in a separate video. Another step you could take, sorry about that, is you could enhance the colour and texture of the wolf pelt and frost blade, as well as the plasma pistol. For the frost blade, it will be a simple edge highlight using Vallejo model colour off-white. Taking a relatively fine brush, making sure I've taken the excess paint off, and sort of dragging the edge of the brush rather than the tip just around the blade like so. Like so, and round the edges there. This just gives it a more sort of frosty feel. And then just going to quickly do a little thing just to bring a bit of the, just going to bring it up a little bit across the blade with a slight sort of stipple where I'm just catching the brush against the blade in some interesting icy patterns. Like so. Now, we can enhance both the cloak and the plasma pistol using a dry brush. To do this, we are going to take, on the plasma pistol first, we are going to take our off-white colour that we used before. Do we go? Yeah, it goes lighter. I have to remind myself whether it goes lighter or not. We're going to take a piece of cardboard, like so, and I'll zoom out a bit, and we're just going to dab the brush against it like that. We are then going to zoom in, and you can see there's a bit of light because the wash I used was slightly glossy, and we're going to just drag our brush back and forth. If you're wondering what I'm using for dry brushing, it's a old knackered brush which I've flattened, bashed in. You can see it just gives a slight texture, not really texture but sort of glow effect, quick and simple glow effect, a little bit of white, and it just also enhances the sort of frosty feel. If you wanted to, you could go and dry brush the sword a bit. I think I've run out of paint. To enhance that. Colour that a little bit. Once that's dry on the power sword, frost sword, you could paint the little node here, little dimple. You could paint that in gold or blue or whatever colour you wish to paint it. Enhancing the cloak is much the same. A simple dry brush, a couple of dry brushes will really help to bring out the colour and make it look more wolf-like. There are a couple of options on how you want to do this, depending on how you've painted the cloak. You could dry brush, if you've painted it really dark, you can dry brush lighter and lighter towards the edges, or you can dry brush it darker and darker towards the middle. Now, as I've sort of painted it a mid-tone, which is sort of good, I can dry brush both the outside and the inside if I wanted to, or I could just dry brush the inside. I'm going to start just with a simple dry brush with Panzerracer's German Tank Crew from Vallejo, and I'm just going to sort of dry brush it into the middle section here, and then I'll apply a black ink to it later. And then I can continue with a dry brush of a black into the very centre. I'm also going to do a very slight dry brush of khaki, of Vallejo game colour, khaki, onto the very edges of this cloak and sort of to the inside slightly. Wash my black off properly. Errors. Slight dry brush to the edges here, just to the sides here. Now, if for some reason you wanted to make your character appear dusty, I don't know why you'd want to. Well, there are lots of reasons, like if you're in a desert or something, but on a Space Marine, maybe not. You could dry brush the whole thing with bone white or some other similar colour. I'm not going to, as I do not wish to have that effect on my model. I'm going to reset the base coats in my other time, but you can see here the pretty much finished effect. The image on the thumbnail of this video will likely be a finished picture of this miniature, and it will also likely be posted to my Facebook page and Instagram page, both linked in the description. So, thank you for watching. You can like, you can share, you can subscribe, you can do all that, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you for the next video, which will likely be another Space Marine painting tutorial. Don't know what on, could be anything. Subscribe if you don't want to miss it. There'll be a button on the screen now, probably covering this Marine, I don't know.